Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Power 102 Digital Wednesday's edition of the After Work Line. And today we continue with Steelband Talk. We've got a veteran historian, Alvin Daniel, Leon Smooth Edwards, arranger par excellence for the Neil and Massey Steel Orchestra. Good afternoon, Fareed, and welcome to it.
Good afternoon, David. It's good to be here again.
Yeah, man.
But let me extend a special welcome and thank you to Mr. Leon Smooth Edwards for taking the time to make himself available. I know this is his busy season and these next few days is going to be very, very hectic for him. Mm-hmm. So welcome, Mr. Edwards. It's great to have you here at 102 FM. We are hoping to have a free and frank conversation with you today, and we have no other than Mr. Alvin Daniel to lead that discussion. I mean, I know that you guys would be very acquainted with each other, and Mr. Daniel has a wealth of knowledge and expertise in this particular area of pan music, and being a former judge and so on, his technical expertise is welcome, and we want to thank you, Mr. Daniel, for your willingness and making yourself available to us week in, week out. So without wasting too much time, David, perhaps we could allow Mr. Daniel to begin the discussion with Mr. Edwards. What I can say in terms of managing our time, we can perhaps go a few minutes over in order to ensure that we don't deprive Mr. Edwards of explaining himself fully. Great. In terms of the next guest, we can always stagger their time and cut it accordingly. So that's entirely in your court there.
Right, good.
Good afternoon. First of all, let me thank Power 102 for embracing my services. Long way off from Trinidad, and its excitement at this time of the year is something that I am normally a part of, but I have to do it virtually this year. So there are a lot of commitments that I have. But I'm very much into the music and what's happening thanks to technology. And I can see it's building every day in terms of new releases. A lot of the power soca is now coming out, and then the tunes that the bands have selected, looking from the junior bands coming up and now looking at the senior bands. And the first very interesting aspect of the choice of tunes at the senior level, what we consider the creme de la creme of the crop, is that one or two bands have chosen vintage songs. But as I was reading earlier today, All Stars have decided to play what they call music as it was music. So they're looking for a new selection, and they're going to come with fresh material. So welcome to you, Smooth. If you just adjust the camera a little so we can see you. And we're ready to chat.
When I'm having some audio problems, so I have the phone by my ears now, so you won't be able to see me.
Oh, I see. Right.
If I put it where I could see, where you all could see me, I'm not hearing you clearly.
All right, we'll take the voice for now. Right?
All right, okay.
Well, Smooth, you and I go back, and we have discussed many a time choice of tune, and that's where I want to start. Tell me a little bit about Stage on Fire.
Well, I took it because of its relevance to the entire thing. You know, we were waiting for 2 years. We had no panorama because of the COVID. And that is one. Two, no other band was playing it.
I know you like that.
You know, I like to give the Trinidad public a variety. I have a problem with 8 and 9 bands playing the same song.
Right, I know that.
And so that helped in the selection of the tune. You know? And the relevance to the whole people were stranded, and they sort of they waiting. They want to get back and jam. They want to get back and play their mass. You know.
and the atmosphere is going to be very, very much lively. They want to get out all that energy that they've pent up for the last 2 years.
Right.
I like this song. That's the first thing I want to tell you. I listened to it. I see the opportunity for development. I see the spacing in it for chordal work. And most of all, and I know that you're also one of those that look for that, you have a theme that can allow you to go in any direction you want.
Yes, yes.
Tell me about
in addition to which, the popular songs to me, I mean, after more of them playing on some other version track, you know, a lack of creativity for the composers. Some of the melodies almost sound like they're rapping. An abundance of lyrics, you know, no format, no form. For example, and I try not to call any names. One person have a very good chorus, but the verse like is a rap session, you know, and people have to understand what you're playing to. You can't just play the chorus because they might be able to relate to it, but the melody, it's too many words, too many notes, you know, and that sort of turned me off.
In fact,
because you cannot really sing the melody in the verse. To me,
right? I have detected that, like you, that there's a tendency to go to a rap type soca, which is one note and a series of lyrics, and the lyrics carries with the rhythm, but no melody to work with.
Yes, that's why I write off those kind of songs, you know, as popular as they may be because of the rhythm. Lyrically, you know, I prefer to stay away from them, you know. Probably the youths, maybe, I mean, it may be their thing, but I from old school, I just can't handle it. Well, I prefer not to go in that area.
In fact, there has been almost like a shift from even the soca artists who were at one time giving us some nice melodies, so that because it was popular and
definitely
had something to offer, we were going in that direction. But now they've gone rhythmic and rap so type. I might even want to say more dub than even rap so. You know, very, very staccato and very repetitive. So
you mean like they're trying to change the format?
Yeah, that's the impression I get. But let's talk about the people involved in producing this song. I see that there's a guy by the name of Curtis Marcelin who composed and wrote the song, and with a couple other people, and you have a vocalist.
Yeah, he is the son of Mano Marcelin.
Well, I know that, and I figured that out in any case. Vocalist Delina Diamond. Is he part of the band, or is he just a good friend?
Who's that? The Curtis?
The Diamond person, the vocalist.
She is on a ship right now.
Oh.
She, you know, this sort of and she came and did a recording with him, and he had this song, and he figured his voice may have been, you know, may have been appropriate, and he used her, you know, but she is not. At first, I believe that he used her as sort of a demo, so he could have probably passed it on to Blue Boy or one of those things. But when he told me that, I said, well, I don't find anything wrong with the song. You know, I mean, you know, eventually, I guess, took my advice, or he changed his mind about Blue Boy and those guys, and he ended up putting on a record with it. Sorry, putting on a record with it.
Yes.
You know,
the final production was.
But I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I gathered.
Right.
You know, because at one time he was talking about, you know,
Approaching one of the bigger artists.
somebody popular. Now, the reason why he was talking about popular artists, the certain popular artists have, well, in the clique, in the whether they are in the pockets of the people who controlling the media, and he figured if he get his song would appear in the media. I think that was the motive. He wanted a person like Blue Boy, you know. I think was that the people who control the stations have a certain limited people music they over and over, uh, um, and ignoring the other songs out there. So he probably was trying to get anything, but he probably wasn't in the clique, so that's why he was trying to do that. And of course, this new lady would not have been in the right. So it's not that he didn't like a song, but he was studying promotion,
Marketability.
airplay,
Yeah.
and so on.
Well, you know,
That's why I got it.
I only heard this morning, I may be late, and perhaps Andre and you can, what do you call it, Fareed, correct me, but I heard a new one by Super Blue this morning. I don't know if it is
Okay.
released formally, but I think it is one of the better combination of lyrics and music that I've heard of the sort of power soca type of tunes. So I don't know if he is as usual.
Probably because at one
Mhm.
time he told me Blue Boy was concentrating on his song he wanted to release. So probably it could
Right.
have been this song.
It's probably this song
Blue
because
Boy didn't really want to entertain his well overtures for him to sing this Stage on Fire.
right.
You
So
know,
I think
so
he's
that
more
may have
aiming
helped
at
in him
road
leaving
match.
the dinner.
I think he's more aiming
What
at the
is
road
that?
match.
Okay,
I
all
think
right.
he's
Yeah.
aiming at the
Yeah,
road
but
match.
yeah,
You know, his
popularity,
timing for
I guess.
a road match is always around this sort of time, 3 to 4 weeks before
Mhm.
the actual carnival.
The occasion. Yeah.
So, you know, he has the kind of charisma to come from behind and take the road match. And I
Right.
haven't heard anything really that, being honest, sounds like an automatic road match. I have a few tunes that are now starting to emerge, but I wait to see. But let's get down to this thing they call panorama. You have already hinted at some of the things that I have observed myself, certain trends in the way people are arranging. And one wants to know whether the judges are in favor of this new trend of things like doubling tumbas with tenor pans and actually muting the tenorans. What about your approach to arranging in this era?
Well, I believe we're still in the age of power where people, you know, want to hear that big song. So you find this year in particular, I sort of eliminated the seconds approach of a set of chords, and I have them doubling up with the melody and up below, you
Right.
know, to get that so-called power that well is needed right now,
Right.
you know. So that's how I saw it. I don't know if
How do you deal with the rhythm now? How do you deal with the rhythm? Some people have eliminated iron out of the rhythm completely.
No. I'm not gonna eliminate that. To me, iron is a staple in calypso and
I
soca.
think so too.
You know, so I think people even iron doing that at their own risk to get that. To me, I mean, and then I'm plenty old school. If I mean the amount of years woman on the bass this year is 43 years, and I
Exactly. And still going
so
strong.
I could really be considered old school, but
And still going strong.
so the
bass?
youth maybe having a different idea now, but I wouldn't leave out iron.
I agree with you, dear. what is the mood in the band like with the tune? And taking into consideration, it hasn't got as much airplay as some of the.
All right. Well, that was one of the. I wouldn't use the word, but there was some contention. A lot of people were protesting the idea that the tune and guy no air, we want to play that and thing, you know. But I stuck to my guns. I didn't guy accustomed choosing the tune for the band, you know. So I went for the tune.
How could any
But I definitely had a lot of opposition.
How could any
well,
member?
they didn't come to me personally, but you know, they went to the skipper and say, you know, and I stuck to my guns. But
How could anyone doubt that Smooth Edwards knows what he's doing when it comes to Panorama? Any band member who doubts your ability shouldn't be playing any band, in my estimation, because your success.
Well,
rate has been
democracy,
so
you know,
high.
I mean, they probably have a good idea, a good reason, in the sense that people dancing to those songs on the tracks, what everybody know. But I am looking at content. What I think is I won't use the word formula, but the ingredients necessary for being interpreted on a varied song, you know, as opposed to a jam song,
Right.
you know, and they were looking at it from a completely different motive, you know. So while those songs may be for party and dancing and so on, for a competition, I figure you would get those, you would get licks, you know.
Right.
That's my personal opinion, you know.
How far have you got with the tune?
And
so far?
since I'm the one will have the headache to produce something, I think I should have the final say.
Correct. Tell me how the mood in the band now that you have started, and how far have you reached with the tune?
Well, I'm close to 7 minutes, and a place where most of the large bands are, you know, because you know you leave back a minute for the final night, you know, that's how we do it.
How was the visit by the judges? How was the visit
from the
to the Panyard by the judges?
Yeah.
How was the visit to the Panyard by the judges?
I didn't hear your question.
How was the visit to the Panyard by the judges?
Well, crowd-wise, most of the Panyards were packed to capacity. Right, everybody, in that party mood. But I know from experience, from history has shown, when people get a lot of kudos. You see, on preliminaries, people will jump at a bottle and spoon. They'll jump at somebody banging up a jubilee. Yeah. But when they sit down in the stand, when they pay the money and sit down in the stands, they don't want to hear no. They don't want to hear no battles. They want to hear where you do the music. And if you want to cater for now, you find you will get. I mean, so many times bands was the most popular preliminaries, but when final night come, it's a different story. All right, so you gotta study the final night. You gotta study the bigger picture.
A lot of the bands this year are the what I call small and even the single pan bands have introduced
What's up the
a lot of
the variety and the
a lot of
contrast
theater.
and so on.
a lot of theater into their presentations. But All Stars has always been a band that have been what we would call active when playing. In other words, they sell the song by the very body language of the players. Is there anything additional?
Yeah, because people are coming to hear you, they're coming to see you perform. So that's where Panorama has reached.
Actually, the late Edwin Pouchette says people don't come to hear Panorama, they come to see Panorama.
Yeah, they come to see a performance. So there was a time we used to threaten men to dance. You gotta dance. If you don't dance, you put you in your back. And all them kind of thing,
Right.
Now they're dancing automatically. Everybody dancing now. But we pay price. Because Jamat with his experience, he introduced dancing in All Stars, you could say.
Right.
Even though he was a classical man, I mean, he has been around the world and played doing his music and thing. He know performance, and you can be playing nice music, and you stand up with your face serious, your foot cross. He get us out of that since down in Main Street. So you always find, we probably could be considered innovators in movement in the Panama tune.
Right.
And we didn't copy that from other bands. If there's anything, we'd take it from show business around the world. Through Jamat.
I would go on record as saying that All Stars was the band that really introduced that participation flavor of the players into the of the Panorama tunes.
And it wasn't automatic.
I don't think anybody would want to argue that with me. Because I've been to every Panorama, except this year I might not be physically there. But I'm watching Panorama through the years. I remember the early 80s especially, and the type of energy that you all brought to our performance.
Yeah. And that was intended, because so now, as a matter of fact, people come to the band to dance. We don't have to tell people dance. People, there may be one or two little stiff people, and of course, we did what we did before. We threatened them to put them in the note stands. You gotta be on the grandstand side, if and they fall in line, So we still use the stick sometimes to get that movement.
Right. Whenever I visit your panyard during the rehearsals, I'm always amazed that things look pretty calm at that time. And there seems to be a point where, if you are lucky to come in that night, the band transforms into the readiness to go on a stage. When does that come?
Well, before prelims, before finals, there were so many different changes from prelims that some of them are concentrating, trying to remember not to go here because we go in here now and so on. But when they finally get it and they appreciate it, that's the transformation come.
Okay.
So that's the hesitation. You may have come in and see people. You might have heard them played last week, and they want to is changes. And what happened? What we do, and I wonder if I should give me the secret. What we do normally, we have a postmortem after performances, and I would say, all right, this part a little weak, this needs to strengthen, this part, and so on. 2, 3 places, 4 places, so that it ain't much, but it's sufficient to make a big difference. As a matter of fact, when I put on a tune for prelims, I just consider it a template. You just put on something, and then now as finals, the thing you develop that template into, you personalize it into what you think it should be. That's my approach. So my preliminary version will never be the same as the final night will. As a matter of fact, after Panama, I could still hear what I could have done with certain things that I didn't get wrong to do it, or I didn't consider in the post-mortem. I say, because that's how music is. It's evolving. It's always, progressing.
Well, self-evaluation.
And I mean, I ain't no genius to get everything right in the first try. It's by trial, it's by error, it's by being your first criticizing it, and getting the fellas to go around with the changes. Sometimes people that be vexed by changing things in the last minute. But at the end of the day,
I wish some of my students could hear you speak there, because I try to teach them or preach the importance of self-evaluation and never being quite satisfied. You need to be looking at what you did and say, how could I have done it better?
Yes. How could I improve this?
Yes. Very, very good.
Yeah.
And your success rate has underlined that you, with that type of person who always sought for 100%, no less.
Yeah. If you really love your craft, you want to put the best product out there. Some people, I don't want to say some people, I don't want to be part of just paying something, don't go something thing, and you ain't totally satisfied, but go into it anyway. No. If I could improve it, I will improve it.
I think this is...
And many times your best idea don't always come the first time. So you have to recognize that. And
I have known some arrangers who actually will change certain lines on the drag itself. Have you ever had to do that?
But I won't put my players through that, but some people do that.
Well, they feel that they have crack shot players that are capable of adjusting even on a drag.
Yeah, but that's key. You're talking about 125 players here, You only thing about the weak link in the chain. All you want is one or two people not to get it, and you capsize, So I'm not willing to make that gamble. I prefer the night before, everybody is satisfied what they have to do. And then the next day, on the actual day, is just revision to make sure they have it compact. But making changes on the day, nah. Unless it had to be so simple.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
One of the topics that have...
No, you go ahead, I finished.
Yes, one of the topics that have emerged is this question of players playing in different bands other than their main, what you would call, resident band. What's your feeling about that?
I find a lot of foolishness. As far as a lot of foolishness. No loyalty. This year is the first year I saw this in the band. We have a youth band now. When the youth band practicing, we have about 100 people practicing. When it's time for the big side to practice, we have about 40 people practicing. And where the other people, they're playing in the small band competition, or they're playing in the medium band, or the pan rung, this other way. So in other words, their home band had to wait. And I don't think this happened to our band alone. I heard that other bands went the same thing. So, I mean, come on. So we reach this stage where you have X amount of bands, each band with Y amount of people. However, the people, so you would assume that the amount of players is X times Y. But when you do check it out, is a small percentage of Y servicing, all those bands. So do we really have so many bands in Trinidad? We don't.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
A pool of people sitting 20 different bands. So that hence the reason why even in large bands now, when this starts, as long as there's another category going down before the large bands, those large bands are very, very small, you know, and it ought not to be, you know, so something needs to be done about that.
I have I have an idea in my head, and I know a lot of people don't like the idea at all, but I'm just throwing it out to hear your feeling. I think we need to return to one major competition and get back to people being loyal to a single entity, because we are fooling ourselves into believing we have these thousands of band players.
Yes, the big fool. We fooling ourselves big time.
Fooling ourselves. We don't have that many players. That hardcore is moving from band to band to band.
Yes.
And
in some bands, you're seeing some people changing the shirt on stage and all kind of thing. Yeah. They play with the band coming up.
If we have 20...
Not only are they doing harm to the bands they're playing for, because you could never remember all those tunes you learned. Last night they learned 2 songs to band. Yeah, they're getting false money, you know. But the bands themselves who want to be involved have no choice because they are no players. Right. And if that's what they get, half-baked people with half-baked tune playing the tune. That is what it is, you know. It's a big foolery. We're just fooling ourselves. Correct. That needs to be done.
If we have 20 genuine bands in the country, it's better we have a real tough competition to get the finest 10, and the quality and the competitiveness will go back to the days when people would not think of missing the Savannah and being almost at the edge of the stage, taking in the music. I really would like to see it come back to that.
I'm in total agreement with that. But, you know, people, if you say that too loud, people will say, they don't want to condemn you. This country has so many bands, and this country. So we are the Mecca, how come we could only have X, you know? So they're looking at quantity and quality. Right. The bands in Japan and Sweden and so on, they're not necessarily competing as such, so they can afford to have. When they say they have so many bands, they really have bands. But in Trinidad, there's a big foolery, you know.
Right.
I don't. After spending so many years with loyalty, and there was a time in Jules' days, you used to have gone and listen to our next band, much less play with them.
Oh.
You understand?
Yeah, in those days when they're learning your arrangements, hand players
with their fingers, all of that.
Had what you call it, the scouts staying at the thing to see, hey, that guy from the other band, he can't come in this yard. And men would play with their fingers so you don't even know what they're playing. Or they would 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, everybody has gone to sleep. Because you had that loyalty and that protectionism of what was yours. That somebody would steal your arrangement, right? And I've seen a lot of that happening, where I hear repetition of certain parts played by another band coming up in the performance of another band. I could hear it. And one wonders, you know, if a lot of that is happening.
Yeah, well, they said the only constant thing in life is change, and this is the change where we are right now. I hope to get back to when we have loyalty. There's something about loyalty that makes such a big difference, you know. And then we fooling the world, we fooling the government. The government has issued some stipend to some people, have other people signing up for them so that they could, you know, all them kind of, it's encouraging skullduggery, you know, because honesty. People, the reason why they play in so many bands because they're getting a little kicker from, you know, so But I from the days where you did things because you love your band. That love has gone now to money, you know. So Mammon has replaced love. The love
I want
of
to talk
money
a little bit about the adjudication process. Listening again to
so you
some of
competed
the
against
earlier
yourself, playing in
competitions,
Trinidad.
I'm hearing some arrangements where the guys are playing the entire tune in one key. I am not hearing much reharmonization. I'm not hearing much melodic development. It's like a long rhythm pattern. And these bands are doing well. Is that the judges have refocused what they consider to be a good arrangement? Has the criteria changed? What do you response to that?
Well, yeah, no, they're one of the days where people have played in 4 and 5 keys. If you're playing 2 keys, now you're playing 20 keys. That's why I can say, but gone are the days where people playing in minor and all. They're kind of just, if they, you know what I mean? It's a different time. It's a different time.
But is the different better?
A different what?
Is the different better?
I don't think so. I don't think so. You know. But
if you had to make a recommendation to Pan Trinbago at this time as it relates to Panorama and all the ideas you have in your head, what would it be?
Strive for getting bands back to the community. Where the community participates. To me, when the community was participating in bands, it was good. However, you find people from San Fernando coming down to town to practice, people from all areas. I mean, it might be good in the sense that it's nationalized, but we are at the loyalty. So there was a time you could have said a band from a certain St. James band, as opposed to.
I listen on Facebook.
Hold on a minute.
Oh, sorry.
I'll check it. Sorry, Alvin.
No problem.
Yeah. So we no longer community oriented anymore.
And I don't think it's bad that a person would come from San Fernando to play, say, in All Stars or Despas or Renegades or any other band. But that should be their band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I come to play with All Stars because I love the band. I love the music. I love the style of the arrangements and so on. That is my band. And I've come to play with them. I mean, I know I grew up in Woodbrook. And when a person was even in Invaders, he wouldn't even come in Starliff Yard, even though it's just around the corner, you know, because he was an Invaders person. And the same thing to Starliff. People who were staunch Starliff players, that is the band they supported. That is the band they played in. And they wouldn't think of holding a stick and playing in another band. And yes, we say change is here, but I don't think that it has made the music better, in my opinion.
I think this year Pan Trinbago opened it before. You were allowed to play in a large band, a small band, a medium band. Once it's different categories. I understand this year one could play in 2 large bands or more than 1 large band. You know, so while that may be beneficial to the people who could do it, it's risky for bands. Suppose somebody from another band decide to play in my band, but because of their love for their original band, they come in my band and sabotage it because they have stayed with me. Before my finish count, they drop the stick on the pan, and this, you know what I mean?
Of course.
That is what's going on now. You could play in 2 large bands in this age. Nah, man. That is, I totally against that.
Well, there's a lot more
you know that's what's going on this year?
This should call for an after Carnival review and discussion
Definitely.
before
Yeah.
going forward with this trend, because I think a lot of people have an opinion to express as to its pros and cons, and this is one of the areas I think needs to be addressed.
Definitely.
But I
have a
really enjoyed chatting with you as always.
competing band come and play in my lineup.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Well,
And
I look
everybody,
forward.
some people do things just to be acclaimed. They know what they do, you know.
Well, as always,
I think Pancho, they're gonna need to reconsider.
as always, I enjoy your music. I enjoy your work, and I'll be listening. I'm getting fully acquainted with the tune right now. I've heard it a few times, and I see the possibilities of what could be done with it. I
All right.
hope that they put on YouTube the Panyard performance, so at least I can see what you start to do with the tune. And then
I think it's on YouTube already now.
right. Well, okay, I'll check it out. But I also want to let you know that I may be doing a virtual with another entity for the big party, the parade on Saturday.
Okay.
So
All right.
I look forward to that with bated breath. And see what you have to offer.
Mr. Leon Smooth, can I interject you a little bit, Alvin? Alvin, I need to find out from Mr. Smooth, one of the greatest arrangers and the most respected arrangers of Panorama throughout the years, some 60 or 60 plus years. Tell me, is competition really good for Panorama?
Well, I personally believe if there's no competition, it will become lackadaisical, because competition forces the arrangers to put their best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
And without the competition, people just give something that's sounding good, but it may not be the best thing. You know, as you heard me saying, I try to transform my music from prelim to final night. I know as the band practicing and I listening, I could always see where it could be improved. Without that competition, I may have left, and I may leave. Well, arrangers may leave the little thing to sound mediocre as opposed to be excellent.
I
You
hear
know,
I hear
that's my opinion. I could be wrong, you know, but that's my opinion.
Okay.
So the competition helps to me that you give the very best.
Okay, thank you, sir. Continue, Alvin.
Yes.
Well, I may add my 2 cents to it. When people ask me a question like that, I always say, life is a competition. Because the moment you walk out of your door, just to decide whether I would go in this taxi versus that taxi, that's a competition idea. Is the guy who
Right.
shiny and clean, and you know that he's a good driver, that's the one you're going to go with.
And by
It's the person you select as your
extension, you're a
wife.
good businessman.
It's the person you select as your wife to be with you for the rest of your life. That's a competition idea.
Definitely.
Maybe 4 or 5 years, but you know, there's one that make an extra
Said Alvin,
effort. Life is a competition, and we have to face it. Like that.
Now, I quite agree with you guys there, but I think the competition should be for Panoramic, because when you look at musical orchestration or bands across the globe, there don't ever be competitions. You know, I
They
think
are competing.
if bands are paid well, I mean, I'm sure that Mr. Smooth will still stay with his band, knowing that they are one of the big 8. You know, there's the big 8 that we talk about, and people expect that you give them a sterling performance. And if bands are well paid, because the competition will determine who gets paid, and if bands are well paid and the players are well paid, we're not players jumping from band to band. I spoke about that last Wednesday. And if bands are well paid, I mean well paid, you know, with
Yeah, that they can in turn.
you know, I know Mr. Smooth will still be there to show the dexterity of his players and the quality of him as an arranger par excellence. Each of the arrangers will do that if they are well paid. Now, the competition to me is just to make sure that you get paid. That's how I see it from my point of view.
No,
And
it's more than that, Andre, because it might mean a tour for the band. It might mean a sponsor. It might mean a lot of things, because the cost of maintaining a band is so high that you have to be at a very high standard to keep all of the people who support the band financially even.
Well, that's what I mean.
The band not winning. If you lose the sponsor, you lose your supporters even.
If we are the Mecca and the land of Calypso and Steel Band, listen to me carefully. When it comes to Carnival, I think when they are reading the budget, I think, like I always spoke about creating an industry, when it comes to the budget, bands should be well paid. And when I say well paid, what they are playing for as winning the Panorama, that is small money, if you ask me, to maintain a band to maintain itself and its players and equipment and stuff all through the year. So I'm saying that they should budget that sort of money for the bands, that they can maintain themselves throughout the year. Because after Panorama, who wins the prize, and the rest fall by the wayside. Some of them, they just pack up until Panorama comes around, because appearance fee and that thing, and they're paying for transport and thing, it gets them up and running.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
so
Look how I say it, and I had to run out. I have some guys written on messages on music.
yeah,
What I see, you see, like how the basketballers and footballers are in America.
yeah,
They making their millions.
Mhm.
They have an entrepreneur, they have a lawyer or whoever
mm-hmm,
that they're going around getting jobs for them.
mm-hmm,
Pan this is show business. We need a show part, which is the bands,
yeah,
and the business part, which is the lawyers and them
yeah,
getting jobs worldwide.
Mhm.
So all the panists have to do is just play,
Mhm.
do their music,
yeah,
and when panists start making their millions like competitors in other sports,
yeah.
then I think you would get the quality music.
I hear you.
Because a band will hire somebody who is mediocre. They would hire the best pianists out there,
Exactly.
and they would have the best arrangers out there. They would,
Mhm.
because now it's a field where you could live off of it. All you're doing is playing music.
That's
You
right.
know, you drop to stay with like I come home and you
Right.
I mean,
That is what I'm
that will
talking
go a
about.
big
That is what
way.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Because if you look
Yeah.
at the market share where television rights and thing are concerned, they never reveal that to the public, neither to the panelists. You know, they will be collecting, especially this time where everything is the new normal and it's an e-world. You have a lot of a transmission of the Panorama via many media links. You know, that pays a lot of money, and I think Panmen should be deserving of that. So like you said, the band has a lawyer, a marketing lawyer, if you can put it like that, who will make an arrangement for the band to have this sort of payment, so that they can handle their stories all through the year.
Mr. Edwards, if I may ask, forgive me, I'm Fareed Ali here. A quick question. How are you as an arranger affected by the judges' comments through the course of the preliminaries, the semi-final, leading into the final, in terms of how does that affect your arrangement? Are you the kind of arranger that would hold on to your ideas, or you would embrace what the judges' comments are, so much so that you feel that you're performing for judges and you're presenting what judges want to hear, as opposed to tweaking things solely in the way that you see it in your mind's eye?
It all depends on what their comment is, you know. If the comment makes sense, I will go along with it, you know. If I feel my idea is better, take it, you know. Sounds selfish, but, you know. And then when I finish final night, they would change their mind too, you know. Probably they didn't get it the way I expected it to be delivered, and by my tweaking and thinking, they would end up getting something they love. You know, as opposed to them telling me to do some way out thing that don't make sense, you know. But I respect the judges, you know. And if that is the rules, you try as much as possible to go with it, but to an extent. You won't go with it and deface your tune. You know, what I do is make sure I really execute what I want to put on, and I think I can get them on board.
Well said, Mr. Smooth.
We appreciate your frankness. Mr. Daniel, you can continue with him. I want you to have the final word in terms of the direction of what we're doing here in the interview.
Yes, there are so many things that I could take Smooth in terms of what is happening with Panorama, what is happening with the adjudication, and all these things. But one of the areas that I would like him to speak to is when developing a Panorama arrangement, what is your, let us say, the steps that you take to tell a story in the way that you arrange upon it? Just a broad thing. I'm not asking to give out any secrets, but how do you assess is the right way to develop a Panorama arrangement?
Well, a lot of things I consider. First of all, I try not to be repetitive, doing something that I did before. Now, you may recognize my handwriting. All arrangers, all composers have a handwriting. Correct. You could listen to Sparrow, you could listen to Kitchener, and you could know that is a Kitch. Certain things you could listen to. The way we play, you could say, that is also style. But still, I try to be different. Sometimes I play something and I say, nah, I sound like I do it already. And I change it. Now, my source of innovation comes from the melody itself. I take the lyrics, and not the lyrics. Well, yeah, sometimes the lyrics, but I take the idioms and work the idioms. So my arrangement will totally depend on the idioms available in this song. I would try to rephrase it in such a way you would know this song is going on, but still, So my innovation comes from the idioms itself, the small little pieces, this a little phrase here and so on. That's what I use as my base of development.
One of the things that let's start from an introduction. Do you have a set pattern that you use in an introduction, or do you change from time to time depending on the type of tune that you choose?
Well, introduction, you want it to be fanfare-ish, making a declaration. And of course, you have to make sure you have snippets of things to come. You must have, you don't want to do an introduction, you could take the introduction based on any tune. Once you hear my introduction, it's a particular tune I'm doing because it's my introduction, or else have snippets of things to come. And that's what an introduction is supposed to be about. You're introducing somebody to somebody. You say this is so-and-so, he's from so-and-so, so-so-so. So you have an idea of the person, so that when you start communicating with the person, you know where you're going. If you know the person is a financial man, or whatever, so the introduction must say something about the song you're about to play. That's my approach to doing an introduction. And of course, I would want it to be dramatic. It mustn't be too laid back and so on and so on, because of the competitive nature of the occasion. And I mean, Trinidad is so vibrant. You need that drama and all of that. So I mean, a Panorama intro will be much different to a pop song or top intro. You know what I mean? You wouldn't necessarily need all the drama or fanfare in a pop song or a ballad, but so.
How do you approach the
It all depends on the song.
How do you approach the first time?
We're talking about Panorama, so
we're talking Panorama.
You had a fire in it.
Yeah. How do you approach the how do you approach the first playing of the melodic line? Some bands start doing what I call affectations. They put in extras already. Are you one of those who like to play it faithful as the way the person sang it, or do you start to put little things into your presentation?
Well, my melody is always the original melody. My bass, my accompaniment may be different. May add a little thing in anything, but I make sure the melody is the original melody. I try to rephrase the melody in the first go. You know, so I always like to establish what the person sing melodically. Arrangement wise, I may do my own arrangement, my own harmonies, my own bass, my own, you know, but me all stars touch it.
Right.
You know.
And you know, as you say,
anyhow, folks, just something nice, but again, some serious face from some guys here. Because they're here since 4 o'clock, you know.
All right.
So we can always talk again.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
Right,
Mr. Edwards, thank you very much. Thank you for making yourself available, and we will call on you again. Thanks for all your warmth and sharing all your experience with us. Mr. Daniel,
right,
and I appreciate you, and wanted to appreciate you very dearly.
Definitely.
Of course.
Thank you so much, Smooth.
Sorry.
Look forward to your music.
All right, okay. Let's hope everything works out well. Hope the ever gets popular.
All right.
Because that's our main contention in the band. People say
Push
other
it,
tunes
push it.
more
Get it,
popular than
get,
this.
call the radio stations. Tell them to play it a little more often.
I will commit myself to pushing the sound.
Right.
But
Thank
if
you,
this
Mr.
is,
Edwards.
if 1 or 2 want to play it for us, I will be happy.
Great.
They will.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yes, and all the best.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
bye.
Well, Farida, I'm seeing a lot of other invited guests. I'll leave it
Let's
up to
bring
you.
them on, man.
Yes, we have Marcus Ash, the drill master for Silver Stars. He's on standby, so he's joining us soon. And we also have the 2 arrangers for Silver Stars. So we have a full class, and those arrangers will be Kirsch Ramsey and OJ Richards. Both of them are tuning in at this time. Mr. Daniel, we're moving along into Silver Stars now. So again, you'll be leading us here in terms of the discussion. I specifically insisted when I spoke with the drill master that he makes the arrangers available, because I know you would have some special questions for them, like you did with in the previous interview. So as soon as they join us, I was communicating quietly with them while you were interviewing our special guests. So hopefully they will tune in this moment. And David, perhaps
Marcus was there a while ago.
No, but before you go, Mr. Daniel.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it possible for you to ask one of these wonderful arrangers if what was the likelihood of arranging another song from a different genre and putting it like a CD, get the rights and sell it? We always believe that we can help the pan only playing calypso music, but the pan is greater than that. People call it one of the most magnificent instruments, so we shouldn't limit it to calypso alone. Why we can't get like an album of, say, a mixture R&B and pop in pan and put that out for sale, where people know the songs already, they know the melody, but they're hearing it being sung through the rhythm of the pan.
Right. I'm going to get on. I wanted to introduce the question of copyright in the first one, but I was holding back that because we have so many other things to talk about. But right away, by you asking that question, the concept of is the owner of the material. Even right now, the steel band men are not taking into consideration that when they do a performance, that performance belongs theoretically to them. And therefore, are they getting the rewards for that performance that they do, right? We call that neighboring rights. The tune that they're playing may not be their tune, but their performance of any tune that they play belongs to them. And this whole question about income, we have it coming up all the time, the amount more money we should be getting and all that sort of thing. And this year, if I may bring up a particular incident, and hope nobody gets offended by it. One year, I was given rights to do a video of the World Steel Band Festival. And when I sold a number of VHSs, I took out a percentage from the income and wrote checks to the individual bands. And the Pan Trinidad organization was upset that I did something like that and did not give them all of the money involved.
Mr. Daniel, if I may, perhaps David can mute Leon Edwards, Smooth Edwards in the background. I think he's still on.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Hearing is. Yeah. All right. So this is what I'm saying, that there needs to be a sit down and start talking about the implications of the steel band. You go and put out an LP, that's nice. The next thing you get a call from someone in the States saying, who gave you permission to play that tune? And to make money from it without giving me the rights of it and so on. So there are a lot of implications when you decide to make a product. And these days, records and CDs are irrelevant. Now you're playing actually to a virtual situation when you produce music. And YouTube, iTunes, Napster, Juno, FineTunes, Spotify, whatever you want to call it. These are the media that you are using to market your product. And if you don't have a way of getting back revenue from these different media through the use of people who are registered or who have the know-how how to collect income from those sources, then it becomes very difficult to start talking about steel band should be playing this and steel band should be playing that, and steel band should be marketing their performances and so on. It may just mean they put out a lot of money, but they get nothing back at the end of the day. I see Panorama as a product that is not being fully exploited in terms of its potential revenue. And to a certain extent, I begin to see people tapping into some of the things, because right after, for example, a pan plays in the Panyard, it's on YouTube. But who is the owner of that product that was put on YouTube? And the very tune that they play, as you know, YouTube will say, we have a problem here. You are playing a tune that is registered and owned by another person. So even the income that you could generate from putting your tune on the internet would still go back to that person. So knowledge and lack of knowledge of where the world is today, but when you put things out virtually, needs to be, let's say, exposed or taught, if you want to go to as straight as that. So those involved in Carnival, so that they could understand what needs to be done. So hence, you still understand why a guy like Boogsy would play his own tune. Because everything that comes from that tune comes back to him. Because it's his. And if he plays his own tune, and if the band play his tune, the potential there is that he would benefit from the revenue it generates. But all of this is if we started talking in terms of the concept of rights and its potential.
Mr. Daniel, we have OJ Richards and Marcus Ash right there with us now. David, could you add back Kirsch Ramsey, please? I think he messaged me that he got bumped off, so maybe we can just go straight into the rest of the show to ensure that Silver Stars have their say.
Well, he has to go back into the link before I admit him into the into
Okay,
our program.
I will share that with you.
So you can get on to him and
Mr.
let him know.
Ash. Mr. Ash and
Yes,
Mr.
I'm here. Good
Great,
evening.
we hear you. And your video is there too.
I'm not seeing that.
Welcome to Power 102 FM. On
Right.
behalf of Richard Noray and myself and David McIntyre, who you'll be hearing also, we really appreciate the time you're taking to share this evening. We have, if I may say, historian and former Panama Judge, Mr. Alvin Daniel,
A former Silver Star stalwart.
continue the green in the prison. So we just have
Thank you, best time at this time with Marcus there.
Of course, Alvin did have a lot of history with the Silver Star Steel Orchestra.
Yeah.
And a lot of the music that we played over the years were composed by him when we came back into Panorama. So yeah, Alvin is
Those
quite
were
right.
wonderful times.
Indeed it was.
And if I may say so, to the late
Edwin
Pouchet, a genius of an arranger. And I saw you learning underneath him and working with him. And it's good to see now that you have the reins and you know what the band stands for and the kind of excellence that he demanded. So the first thing I want to ask is Silver Stars still Silver Stars?
Silver Stars is still Silver Stars. Being 17 years now, I've been with the Silver Star Steel Orchestra since the days in medium, and I've seen Silver Stars go up. I've seen them peak. I've seen them be at the top. I've seen the lows, and I'm very comfortable where we are now. I see the rise where we are heading right back up.
Right, that's very good. I want to go straight into the fact because they are supposed to be also part of this. Tell me, how did you acquire these two guys as arrangers?
Sorry, what's that question?
How did you get the two guys that we have arranging for Silver Stars right now, which is Curse Ramsey and O.J. Richards?
Okay, so, well, everybody know what happened in 2020 with Silver Stars. It was an unfortunate year for us. And upon the resignation of the then arranger, we were in a position where what do we do moving forward? And we looked at all the arrangers out there. We looked at a lot of them, and we had to make a decision. And one thing I noted at the time was, in conversation with the captain, Chanel, we sat down and we were like, all right, so these arrangers are already taken by large bands, and we're looking for somebody that is dynamic. Who are we going to get? And in names passing across, we had those two names, and we were like, which one do we pick? It's a bit funny when you look at it, because I remember I used to go to UTT. I wasn't a student there, but I used to go to play a little All Fours, and OJ and Kirsch were both students there. And UTT had their internal panorama. And the first time I heard OJ arranged, I watched him and I said, I don't even know who you are, but I'm telling you this, you are going to win a panorama very soon. That was not even 5 years ago. And not too long after that, about 2 years later, he would have won the small category in panorama.
Right.
Kirsch Ramsey was another one. When I heard him for the first time arrange with New Eastside Dimension in Tobago, I remember calling Beverly Ramsey Moore and I said, hey, he is saying a lot of things. He's saying things. That's Cats and Jammers next arranger. and I didn't realize, at the time, I didn't see it as Silver Stars going with them. Eventually, I remember one day I went to the washroom in UTT, and I overheard a conversation Kirsch was having with another student, and he said, "But if I get Silver Stars, I call OJ one time and we gone." in the full Tobago accent.
Right.
And that stuck in my head. So I was like, oh, this could be a 2-for-1 special, but there's 2 young ones that are coming up, and they are coming up very rapidly. If I could get a hold on them, then maybe I'm onto something good. So now it's to find out if they work well together. And in conversation with OJ, he basically expressed the same. So we had a meeting with both parties, and that is how we arrived at where we are now. Of course, we had the Taste of Carnival last year where we basically put them out there and said, all right, now that it's not a competition, use this time to show us what you can do together.
Right.
And they definitely did a tremendous job then. And of course, they're back again this year. First, they're competing together with Silver Stars. And I think last night they proved themselves already in the preliminaries. I am very satisfied with what I heard.
Tell me how that preliminaries went, how the yard was, and paint the picture for me.
I'll carry you back to the days of Edwin Pushet. You would have been here around first in the line and battle zone and those days where you couldn't even enter Silver Stars.
Correct.
And to know, and back then was pan songs, but you could imagine when you're playing the song and the entire crowd is singing along and dancing and like totally wowed. But the only difference then to now is that last night you saw the attraction of a lot of younger persons coming into the yard as well to hear Silver Stars. So it's the same very thick crowd. I mean, Track Retros was a nightmare last evening to get parking to even walk on. And you're hearing the people in the yard just singing this engine room song while the band is playing and they're dancing. From the time the judges sat down, the introduction cranked up. You will hear all the noise in the background. You could go back to Trinidad page and listen to it. You would hear the crowd roaring in the background. It was mind-blowing to me because, I mean, you had to understand for some time that energy wasn't there, that vibe, it didn't, like, I don't know, something was, I felt like if Edwin was resurrected.
Well, I must say I commend you on the choice of tune. I love it. I love the structure of the song. I love the hook. And I know that hook is going to work for you. So it's an excellent choice of tune. It's already 1.2 million hits on YouTube, the vocal. And what is good for you too, Ola Tunji has been using it in the party.
Yes.
This is fantastic.
And which I was going to say, when I first heard this song, I did not want to do
see
that
it as a pan selection.
No. And I was like, And I was talking to the captain and I said, National. And we go and we look at all these songs and say, Lord, there's a hard year for song selection.
Very.
And in conversation with the captain and the arrangers they were looking at that song as a good option. And I mean, it's the first time I remember OJ saying that he had an idea or ideas for it. I was like, you know what? It's not always about me. Let me compromise. And I was like, if they feeling it, let them go through. And they went through, and by the time we started to arrange that song, the players were enjoying it. And you know when the players enjoying it is when time to end rehearsal. And I was like, okay, last round, and we do it. And they were like, no, we want one more round. And the people in the crowd who passed in to listen want that one round too. I was like, yeah, this is a different energy and vibe I'm feeling here already. And I wouldn't lie, Kirsch and OJ did justice it every step of the way.
Right. Now your role as the drill master, I know very important role. What have you brought to the table in terms of developing the arrangement?
Well, you see, it's a bit split up because both arrangers are from Tobago. They are arranging for medium band in Tobago, so they are definitely out of the picture during the week. So what they would have done was score the music and send it to me, which is what Liam would have done in his time as well.
I was not going to actually say that you had already had this kind of responsibility with Liam.
Exactly.
So this is right up your alley.
Yeah, it was easy to do that. Well, you know, I mean, I always boast that Silver Stars is the most disciplined band in this country. because I don't have to hit the side of a pan to stop this band. I just raise my hand like that, and it could be 200 persons practicing. They will all come turn it.
Yeah.
And the discipline of the players make it easier for drilling. So it's just about getting the music, getting it down in the sections, and just drilling it to make sure it's executed clean, so that when Kirsch and OJ come to Trinidad, they could add, take away, tweak as they see fit, and take over the show. At that point, I'll be having a drink by the bar while they do what they have to do.
Right. Sometimes people say when people can score music and they know it too, they don't really understand the vibes of a panyard. But we saw with our last arranger that you had, that it worked for the band in many cases. Although there was some critique that he needed a little bit more of the feel of the panyard, because with Edwin would just stay in the panyard and say, I get an idea. And right there and then he says, stop playing that. Play this instead.
Yes.
And you may know too that I used to chat with him a lot.
Yes.
Especially in coming up with the introduction. And he would just come and say, I have something here, which is something that I suggested to him. And immediately, without writing anything, notes on a piece of paper, he could get that over to the band. How has Silver Stars transitioned as you get a little bit more technical in terms of the way you transport the music to players?
Okay, so having that experience working with different arrangers and their style of how they put down the music actually helps me. Because Edwin's time, actually, you're quite right with what you said there. Under Liam's time, he would have been in Illinois, so he would score it, send it, and when he come down, he did his little tweaks. It helped me for OJ. But one of the advantages that I have now, as opposed to when I originally started under Liam, under Liam, I will have to go to every single section and distribute the music based off of the score. By the time OJ and Kirsch came into the picture now, I would have produced enough musically literate persons in this steel band in the last 7-8 years, where now I can boast that I have a lot of players and students who are graduated or graduating or entering both UE and UTT to study music because they can read. I have students and players in this band that have reached up to grade 8 theory, and it's something that I offer all my players here for free. If you want to learn to read music, I am teaching you for free, because guess why? It's less work for me in the future. Sure. And now what I have is there are certain players, nearly all my section leaders, I could literally just cut out that section of the score and send it to their phone. And now I could check them back within half an hour. And the music has been distributed. So when OJ and Kirsch send something to me, and I message them back an hour later and said, done, they're like, what? It's because the work has gotten way lighter now in doing that. I believe in being musically literate, and I also believe in keeping that root where you stay by rote, where you learn by rote. I don't want to see nobody stand up in front of my band with no score sheet playing for panorama.
No.
That's crazy. That's not the culture. So while I endorse music literacy, I also endorse staying true to our roots, because I have traveled all over the world, and to see people stand up and play this instrument for 8 minutes without looking at a score, or to see a stage side of 25 players play an hour-long set without ever looking at a score, it's something mind-blowing, because any other orchestra around the world always have score. I played with the National Steel Symphony for 10 years using scores. I've traveled the world using scores, but to come for foreigners to come to Trinidad, it always blow their mind, because they ask, how do you all memorize like where they score? And I say it in their head. That's what we do. So it's a balance of the two, learning by rote, but still having them musically literate enough that they could have the music to teach themselves or teach their section, and then have it down in their system.
I want to talk about your rhythm section, because that was one of the strong points too of Edwin, that he would demand that the rhythm be accurate and balanced what is your rhythm section like today, and who in sort of commands it? Who's in charge of it?
The rhythm section is more or less young and dynamic. Again, filled with a lot of the UTT graduates and stuff who did their major in percussion, not pan. So and a lot of them are gravitating towards Silver Stars because again, OJ and Kush were are UTT graduates, so it's easy to get the players now. And with the energy that is coming there, sometimes I actually have to tone it down a bit because sometimes the tempo that they're ready to go at, Edwin would have been a happy man today.
You know, he like tempo.
Yeah, and they like it as well. So right now is about I'm trying to kind of pull them back a little. I mean, we still keeping the tempo, but just pull it back a little.
For clarity's sake.
Yeah, my drummer, which is Michael Ford, we call him Chubbs. He's a UTT graduate as well, and he has experience. He's Silver Stars stage side drummer, and he also would have played for Uptown Fascinators both times that they won, which was this year and the last Panorama in 2020. So he has experience working with OJ, so he understands OJ's style. It's easier for him to adapt. So, and I mean, you have a young group there, and I know OJ also do a lot of work with the engine room when it comes to actually getting what needs to be done there. Sometimes you see OJ leave the front of the band, and fortunately we have two arrangers, so Kirsch take over and you realize OJ disappear. He's in the engine room working them, and I mean, they stick with it.
Well, the theme of your song suggests that you better have a good engine room.
Oh, hell yeah.
Expect them to play a significant role in the arranging and the development of the theme.
Of course.
I don't want you to let out any secrets. And you know, one of the trademarks, in fact, I boast to people that the 2 years that Silver Stars won the Panorama, they won it right after they played the introduction. It was like the rest was just the gravy. The crowd was already screaming, shouting, clapping for them. What is the introduction this year going to be like?
I mean, the introduction, I think, you have to understand too, the introduction and the ending was done, I should say, the morning of the judging. Because we did it after midnight that night. And it was very dynamic. Like I said, from the time the introduction went down, people started to jump and scream in the yard. You would hear it in the recording. And Smooth, I came into the end of Smooth's conversation, and he was talking about the introduction in All Stars, where he said he used fragments basically of the little motifs of the melody,
yes.
And I agree with that. And it's just that Kush and OJ took a slightly different approach where they started with fragments of the engine room. Obviously, at the introduction, so you had the bongos, you had the African drum, those things that started to feature as we get go. The name of the song is Engine Room. He didn't hesitate to just get right into it with the engine room.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it. Is there anything about Panorama you want to talk about? Because I know you also have a little responsibility with the management team. How do you feel about the direction the management is going and the way Panorama is developing? Any comments in that area? I'm sure you've heard some of the negatives that people have said, and how do you respond?
I have to take different sides of me as a pan man, as somebody who has a leadership position in a band, as somebody, I sit on the board of Pan Trinidad now. Mm-hmm. I am part of the events committee that produces Panorama, or any Pan Trinidad event for that matter, and having to separate myself because for everything, being in my position, you get to see everything from all different angles because sometimes a decision is made and you don't necessarily agree with it, but it's sometimes that you can't see it from the other angle.
Yeah.
And with regards to the Panorama and the direction it is going, I look at it as an evolution. it may not necessarily be accepted by all, but the panorama is evolving. This is 60 years we celebrating the Diamond Jubilee this year. And we could definitely say that panorama has evolved. You went from Dan is the Man in the Van in 1963. Anthony Williams setting that
Were you
structure.
There? Were you there?
I was not a thought.
I was there.
And he would have set the formula or the structure that a lot of bands still to this day use. And you move forward, and this little Indian boy come from South and then started putting the dynamics to it now by the name of Lennox Bobby Muhammad.
Right.
And then you realize crescendo, if you don't have a crescendo in your arrangement, now something wrong. That was an evolution. And you go down to the years, you had the Bradley, you had the Boogsy era, you had the Jit era. Smooth era was wide because from the 80s come down, he's been winning in every decade. And you had the evolution. You had Edwin coming now between Silver Stars and All Stars with the tempo that they were running at. And then Edwin made Panorama into something visual. It evolved. He was like, and Edwin always said, people don't come to the Savannah to hear Pan. They could have stayed home and listen to it on radio.
That is his statement. They come to see Panorama.
And they come to see Panorama. So he wanted to give them something to see. And then he said, win, lose, or draw, they will always remember that Silver Stars crossed that stage. And you see now things that Silver Stars actually was being bashed for, the theatrics, the dancing, the acrobatics, the fireworks, the confetti. Last night we had preliminaries and real bands did it in preliminaries. They didn't even wait for the finals.
Oh yeah, so, they're hiring Moko Jambis and things
exactly.
already.
At the time when we did that, we were bashed. And now is something that everybody is doing. So you have, in understanding that things that are happening now that is sometimes being bashed is only part of the evolution. And I understand that change is hard to accept, but you have to understand too that we are evolving. It's the same way in the music that we played. We started with Sparrow, Kitschy, and those people, and we come down. And then by 1972, Ray Holman, which you actually played an important part with.
As my first said, Steelbands arrangers in a dilemma, what tune to render, Sparrow or Kitchener, right?
Exactly. And in 1972, you was actually part of that change where you brought in pan tunes or own compositions into the mix and run pretty high for something that was new, and it was not accepted back then.
One time of the for that.
And Pan on the Run came after, and then suddenly everybody started to compose pan tunes, and now it gone back to the popular soca, because at one point the popular songs, as you just mentioned, the Kitsch Sparrow was these popular songs of the day. It went back to that, and actually this year is a funny year because now you have bands doing throwback, doing own compositions, doing the popular soca. So, and I think that's even one of the best things for the 60th anniversary is to show that, hey, we basically have 60 years in one show this year where bands are doing throwback, present, own composition and stuff. A lot of people, it has some people don't like that bands throwback. It has some people that wish all the other bands throwback. It has some people like, nah, I want to do our own compositions. And some people don't like that. But this year you get the actual mix, and hopefully somebody is pleased by the difference. To me, I wish some people would look at things from another angle, even if you don't understand, and try to understand where things come from, rather than just, we have the age of social media now. When I started Pan, I didn't have no Facebook. And now with it, you have a lot of groups where they just trash everything. Pan Trimbago this, or Silver Stars that, or All Stars that, or Phase 2 that. We had live streaming going on last night, and some of the comments were so encouraging, and some of the comments were so nasty. Like they just don't understand to allow people to express. Music is art. Art is an expression of yourself. Who the hell is me as a judge to say this band is better than that band? Because I believe it was David McIntyre was talking about Panorama as a competition, and he didn't like it. I could understand where he come from, but I also agree with what you were saying there earlier, as well, because the competition will help produce the best. But you just have to accept the change that is going on and adapt to suit, because Edwin Pushat, again, I go back to him, always said forward ever, backward never. So if he knew it was changing direction, he was going down that direction too, as he always did.
And one of the best lines he ever told me is, when you throw it down, you must get back up. And I'd love to see that the band, I wouldn't say it's getting back up. They're back. They seem to be back up.
Oh, Silver
I
Stars
really
is
look
back
forward
up.
to your performance this year, because it's a band that have a little space in my heart, especially for you. I love all steel band. I've been with so many different steel bands throughout my life that it's hard for me to say that I am one band only. I mean, I grew up with Starlift, Invaders, Phase 2, then affiliated to Renegades, Desperados, down in South, Hatters, and different bands. So, I don't see myself as God, I can't leave out Exodus, Pillar kill me. But I've had such an interaction with so many different steel bands that I don't see myself as one band. Invaders, Renegades, All Stars and Renegades is like, that's the area that I was born into. That's where I come from. So I have a kind of broad range love for all the bands. And you see the uniqueness that each band had, where you could face another direction and you could call the name of the band playing. Some of that has been lost. And that is hard for, let us say, the people of my era to accept. And one of the things I wouldn't like, although All Stars your band must evolve, there is something about your band that was unique, that you could say, that is Silver Stars. That's what I wouldn't like you to lose.
Well, to be fair, if we were to look back at the Tesa Carnival, I think OJ and Kush, what I like about the two of them is that they've been able to work with a number of winning arrangers over the years. Kush comes from Cats and Jammers, which was Edwin.
Oh, five victories in a row kind of.
He had Boogsy, he had BJ, they played with Duvon already. So they understood the assignment when it comes to winning formulas. Now, at the same time, they brought their own energy and vibe, and now each of them have a different style. If you listen to Kush and OJ separately, because they both competed in the small category. OJ won, Kush came third. Two completely different styles. In the medium, now Kush is running first in the preliminaries in medium, and OJ is running around sixth. So it's a different style. It depends, many things. But when they came together in Silver Stars, I think one thing that I enjoyed about it is they brought their own style, but they also kept certain elements of Silver Stars. So, for example, Silver Stars was the band with the jam. When
Correct.
Edwin, and even back before Edwin with Junior, a jam come in, hold on to the ground properly because you will fall off your feet. And last year for Tesa Carnival, when they came out with that jam, I was like, all right. It's basically them saying, all right, we understand the Silver Stars, we hear it. So it has the energy, the vibe, the tempo, those things, they will keep certain elements. I expect that things will change, because I don't expect them to come and literally mimic Edwin, because even Edwin, when he became a successful arranger, it was when he was able to come out of Junior's shadow, when
Correct.
Edwin was truly able to be Edwin. So I don't want nobody come in and try to be Edwin. Edwin is dead, let's be real.
Correct.
I want you to be you, but I want you to understand the history and the legacy of this band that is about to turn 75 years this year.
Mm.
You understand? So that's it. And maybe we could talk to Kush and OJ and find out like what the similarities and difference that they brought to the table, if you want. I mean, they are.
Yeah, I
all
was
equal
hoping, I know we're running out of time because it's so interesting chatting with you, because you are well knowledgeable about the whole industry as a young person, and that is great to know. And that you are a part of the planners, you are part of the actual event. You're such an important person. You work with the media too. And I feel proud to know that we have people like your stature bringing up the music of the country. And hopefully this is what is going to see. We have to go through turbulent times sometime, as you say, to create something that is perfection. And any little ups and downs we're having now is because it's going to get better.
Of
so
course.
Thank you for your input. And if we can get the two guys on now, that would really be nice to get their input.
Mr. Daniel, what we're struggling with is both Kirsch and OJ, they on the boat heading back to Tobago where they're originally from. And
we can swim another time then, because I think we can satisfy the rest of the program with Marcus here. All right, so we'll get him another time. You have any questions of your own, Fareed?
Well, Marcus, I was in the Panyard last night. The performance was very, very energetic. I must say, I don't want to say shock is not the word. I think it was good to see so many young people. I mean, you look like a man when you had the number of players and that are so young, and you're a person. So my question is, how do you get young person to focus and within yourself? How do you get them to focus on what you want in terms of music and in terms of the music you want to express? Is it a struggle, or is it that because you have so many persons who can read music that it comes natural to them?
Okay, good question. With regard to the players, but you realize the demographic of Silver Stars players is young. As a matter of fact, it was always young, even in Edwin days. And in the time with Liam and certainly now with OJ and Kush, it's always been young, and they always encourage youth development in this band. Before we even get to the music and how they express it, you had to understand there's one thing in this. You see number 56 track, Reach Road Nitong Port of Spain. Once you hit that gate and you are coming in, it's the most disciplined band. And if you don't have that discipline, then you already you start on the wrong footed. And in terms of teaching the players the music or getting them to execute, it all starts with the discipline. It is the easiest thing for me to teach music inside of here, because once I raise my hand, the band stop. I call the notes. You wouldn't have people trying to play the notes while I'm calling it over the mic. They are going to be very silent standing there, and I call the notes, and I will call it again, and then I tap the rhythm, and then I say, go. And they do that. And then I stop them by raising my hand, and I go again with the next section, and I call the notes, tap the rhythm, and then I show them how to join it. And they go. I don't have to say, stop the coursing. I don't have to say, I don't buy strepsil in bulk. The shouting and the hitting pan and them thing, I don't deal with that. Because again, I said the discipline is number one. And because of that discipline, I think I get players to do almost the impossible when it comes to the music, to just go down very quickly. A lot of bands may spend 2 weeks learning a verse and chorus. I don't even need 2 hours to teach this band the verse and chorus.
I want to address a different issue. Everybody's talking about this, what we call the hardcore crack shots, playing in 8 and 10 bands and that sort of thing. What's your take on that?
Okay, again, I have to divide myself, because prior to me being on the board of Pan Trinidad, I was the drill master for Silver Stars, and previous to that, I was a section leader. Previous to that, I was just a regular player. And previous to that, I actually jumped to multiple bands as well. I come from that, so I understand that. Again, it's something where I could look at different angles. There's good and bad in it. And one, you're helping others. You see, with me, a lot of people talk about the rule that Pan Trinidad would have made, where they allowed people to play with multiple bands.
They
and let me just
that, yes.
Pan Trinidad never allowed people to play with multiple bands. What Pan Trinidad did was really take out the rules that said you can't jump in another band. And by taking out the rule, it means that we're not necessarily looking at you if you play with another band. They didn't tell you go and jump with another band. But
No,
if Pan Trinbago takes that rule out, in my steel band, Noray and Silver Star Steel Orchestra, I have rules. So in other words, not one player you will ever find drinking a beer behind these instruments, or smoking a cigarette, or using obscene language. If you are coming late or not coming to rehearsal, the captain needs to know. So I know what I'm working with. Now, with rules that each band have, I also tell my players, I say, here, what's going on? May have some of you all that are interested in playing with other bands. If you need to do that in single, wherever. If you need to do that in small, wherever. As long as I have my rehearsal and you are in my rehearsal, you could do what you want outside of my hours. But you see, when large band comes around, I and the Noray and Silver Star Steel Orchestra will not entertain that. You have a choice. If you think you want to play in two bands, go by two other bands. But you will not come to Silver Stars and then run around to other large bands. And with the categories being spread out during the year now.
Yes, it actually almost in November now.
Yeah, it helps me to be able to control. So when you see my rehearsal is happening, I can see my players behind the instrument because they are not running around with any other large band. Again, I have no issue because, like I said, there's no law in the rules now to say you can't do it. But from the minute you cross that gate, there's a law inside here that shows you can't do it. If you want to do that because the grass is green on the other side and they are paying you to play there and they're allowing you to play with another band, you, blessed love, you go along. But I know here it is Silver Stars and Silver Stars alone.
I know Edwin wouldn't have allowed that, so it's good that you are taking that stand as well.
And the rules that are in Silver Stars here now wasn't implemented by Marcus Ash or Chanel Pouchette or Christine Pouchette or any other Pouchette. Edwin, it was since Edwin and before Edwin time, Silver
Oh, yeah,
Stars.
no, they're in bands of 4 years. You couldn't even think.
I'm in the band 17 years
sometime
ago,
in another
and
band,
I met these rules here when I came in 17 years ago, and 17 years later, the rule will still be here. Even if I die before that, the rule will continue because the band, nobody is bigger than this band, you know. I am not bigger than this band. The captain is not bigger than this band. Edwin was not bigger than this band. Edwin is there and the band is still here. We had some turbulent weather, but we are still here. And when you look at yourself as an individual and understand that you are not the band, then everything else will fall into place. Because once I know I am not the band, then the players know that they are also not the band. Nobody can hold this band to ransom. Not one player could hold this band to ransom. I personally will show them where the gate is and help them get there on a fast tempo.
Where do you think Panorama is going?
I think we are in the at the era where it have another direction change, or another change in direction, and is the era where technology is really showing itself. Pat Bishop, who trained me to do music, she said, well, I took it as a joke. She said, Marcus, technology was invented for us in the third world to look forth. But I think with the youthful influx in steel bands, you have a lot of virtual stuff. You have a lot of online stuff. On the side of Pan Trinbago, one of the things that we experimented with Tesa Carnival, I mean, it was as a packaging something to send abroad where you could watch it at pay-per-view and those things. And I think Panorama in itself is so if you can't come to Trinidad for Panorama, let Panorama come to you then. So
I would have liked to have seen it live from the Panyard last night. I know I could go and watch it now.
It was done live. If you check Pan Trinbago's page.
It was done live?
Yes, go back on
Daniel-
Pancho Bago page.
Oh, right.
Every
But
single
that was
band.
advertised.
It was advertised there, but hopefully you follow the page.
You gotta build it up. You gotta come 2 and 3 weeks before and start telling people it will be beamed. You know, this is
It
what
was-
is needed. That little extra something to reach the world. But you're on the right track, and congratulations.
Thank you, Alvin.
I appreciate everything you said today, and it has actually enlightened me on a few things that are happening behind the scene, and I appreciate that. And best of luck. But I know your band don't play with luck. They do their work.
No, listen, Silver Stars is not a big 5 band or a band where you have this grand following of people, and every year when you're doing it's a set of people to say their teeth. It's when Silver Stars ran out, nobody said anything. And some people think that they are entitled to a win. And when I say people, I'm not talking about the members of the bands. I think like supporters, everybody always getting teeth every year. And the years that Silver Stars won, we had to win over the fans and the people who were in favor of all the other bands in order to win. So we understand what hard work takes.
Correct.
And in order to do that, what we needed to do was connect to the people, connect to the judges, you just need to connect everything. And that's what we do. This year is the year of connection. We are gonna just work very hard. I have players that are dedicated. I have 2 arrangers that are dedicated. I have a management team that is dedicated. I have sponsors that are dedicated. And we're gonna just work hard and just do what we need to do to win over the people who have their allegiance to another band. Once they could appreciate us as second place to their band, I think we're doing something good, because you can't get rid of that first place mentality that they have for their band. But if everybody watched Silver Stars as second place, then that is first place, because they're watching the other first place people as first place.
You just
That's
preach
enough
because
points to win.
You just preach, because I'll tell you something. There was a Dimash Gra, and when the 5 Calypsonians sang, when the 12 Calypsonians sang, the person who won was not a winner on any single judge, but every judge had him second and he came first, and that person was Krokro.
You understand what I'm saying? And what they do is each of them have somebody else first with Silver Stars second are taking that.
Yeah, because if you come second on every judge's scorecard, you'll still come first.
Gentlemen,
Believe it or not.
gentlemen, we gotta pull the curtains down. But Marcus, I must say that with someone like you, I hope that there are others within the executive of Trinidad that are on the same page like you, because I just like what you said. Now, that is the thing I have about competition. Now, if via income from television rights and all of that, bands are well paid, I think performances will be at even a higher level than the competitiveness of Panorama.
Correct. And actually, like I know Mrs. Ramsey Moore, recently she looked into and is in discussions with the streaming, and in doing the streaming, it's not Trinidad that will actually benefit, but the bands actually are gonna be she's looking to have them compensated by the by that streaming happening.
Yes.
So in terms of the money, actually, it's not something that Trinidad necessarily would benefit from, but more the bands.
I know.
And if there's one thing I give her credit for, is that she really seeks the interest of a band. And as an executive, we support her because we've seen her. I mean, Trinidad takes 10%, well, used to take 10% of the assistance or the transportation and things.
Yeah,
Why? Like, why would it, she should stop all of that? I mean, 10% of the prize money is 10% of the prize money. I mean, that's how the organization is run. But you don't take 10% out of the things that's supposed to help the band reach the competition.
That's right.
So she withdrew all of that. And you actually see her putting more into the bands itself now.
Yeah.
Before Panorama, you had Steel Fest, something where it was just pan all over this country, and it was to put money back into bands, help them prepare for Panorama and stuff. So it's good. Do I think that we need more money invested into bands? Of course. but I'm also aware of the economic situation. We just came out of a 2-year pandemic where this country lost a couple millions into billions in the US because of the state of the economy and having to do the lockdown. But I'm not going to fight and say, well, we want more and protest. We need to continue to work and show excellence as a community of people. And as I always tell people, the Steelband movement, Trinidad, the National Steelband Association, the Steelband movement is the oldest cultural movement in this country and by extension in the Caribbean. The Steelband movement is older than the PNM and the UNC. So with that understanding, you have to understand we are a movement that was...
I really like that.
No, it's the facts. When you want facts, talk to me.
Yes.
We come from trials and tribulations, and we've always had to show resilience and rebound. And through every low, we've able to bounce higher. This pandemic helped us to transition into the technological era. So it is a good thing. In every bad situation, I've never seen nothing took Steelband out.
That's right.
We always rose above all. Pan is spirit, it will never die. And if you understand the root of the Steelband and the root of our culture and carnival, and I heard Gypsy said Sunday in an interview I had with him and Rome, and he said that NCC is working on educating the population on the business of carnival and the economics of carnival and understanding the history of it. And I think if Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension the rest of the world, get that education, we would be more appreciative, and instead of quarreling 147 million for carnival and your hospital in a mess and schools, you need to understand the purpose of that 147 million.
Yes, I want to thank you, gentlemen. We're clean out of time. News straight ahead. Marcus, I must come look for you at Silver Stars. Fareed said people would like to see who is David McIntyre, so I will present myself. I like your vibe.
Problem.
I like your vibe. Alvin, thank you so much. Fareed?
My pleasure.
Thanks again. Blessings and thank you, Mr. Daniel and Mr. Ash, for making yourself available. On behalf of Richard, myself, and David, we really love the fact that both of you all are involved here and we're able to share the things that aren't shared on other stations. Thank you again.
It was nice listening to all the conversations. Thanks again, as Fareed said to Mr. Daniel. For the last 2 weeks, he has been doing a fantastic job and really allowing us to understand more and more about the culture and what happens behind the scenes. So thank you so much, Mr. Daniel. Thank you so much also, Mr. Ash. Fareed,
this is my time to give back.
Great job.
Yes.
Daddy Mac, get home safely.
I will.
The news straight ahead.
Thanks, Alvin. Hope to see you soon. Yes, I'll come look for you, Marcus. Promise.
No problem.
Okay.
That's it for our special segment today. Power 102 Digital. I look forward to next Wednesday. 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 I look forward to next Wednesday.